You know, it's a good day when you get your eyeliner just right.
As I've been mentioning on previous episodes, I'm brand spanking new to street photography. I've been learning for about maybe half a year now, and I'm just beginning to amass a pile of books of photographers that inspire me and interest me. And this first book that I'm going to share with you is called The Americans, which is a collection of Robert Frank photos. And Robert Frank was a street photographer. I don't know too much about him yet, but I do know that his work is worth looking at and learning from. I'm not going to show you all the photos that are in here, but they are classics and definitely worth picking up if you are just getting into street photography. It's called The Americans, photographs by Robert Frank, introduction by Jack Kerouac. So check it out. I'm not sure why I got this book, but it's Annie Leibovitz, her early photos. Annie Leibovitz is easily one of my favorite photographers. There's something about going back and looking at a well-known photographer's early work and seeing how they, grew as a photographer and got from A to B. I'm fascinated by that, so I guess that's why I picked up this book. And it's all of her photos of her working at Rolling Stone, all the way up to Vanity Fair. There's one part in here where she talks about the moment she knew she wanted to be a photographer. It was when she took a photo from a car window and just, looking at that photo, she's like, yes, I want to do this. This is what I want to do with my life, which I thought, was really cool to learn. She photographed Arnold Schwarzenegger. I mean, I love portraiture so much, so much. And you've all probably heard of Joel Meyerowitz. I actually picked up this book before I was even aware of who Joel Meyerowitz was. This book is called Cape Light, and it's photos of just Cape Cod. And I will say, Cape Cod is kind of special to me because me and my husband, we go up there pretty much every summer for vacation. It's kind of cool to flip through here and, recognize places I've been and see what it looked like back then. So not that the 70s are too far back, but it's a time when I wasn't around, so it's kind of cool just to see it. But yes, I've quickly come to learn that Joel Meyerowitz is kind of a big deal in the street photography game. One thing that I find really interesting that he does in here, he picks a spot like this, veranda or, deck overlooking the water, and he takes a photograph, and then he just keeps taking photographs on different days, the same spot, different weather conditions, and it's basically just a study of light. As photographers, that's what we should be doing. We should be studying light, and he's clearly doing that here, which I think is very interesting. This other one, again, it's called Bystander. If you haven't heard of this book already, it's a history of street photography by Colin Westerbeck and of course Joel Meyerowitz, so the same author as the last book. This is more of like a hardcore textbook. I absolutely love this book. I haven't read it page by page yet, but I really just enjoy flipping through it, especially the really old photos from, the days of yore, 1800s. Quick side note, I am a huge fan of the Victorian and Edwardian era. Just the fashion, the photos that were taken, it was just, it's mind-blowing. But that's a topic for another day, but it's really fun to just flip through here and see what life was like way back then. Okay, if I am talking street photography, I would be incredibly remiss not to mention Henri Cartier-Bresson. I feel like he is the godfather of street photography and everybody should know about him. Unfortunately, I do not yet own any Cartier-Bresson books, but I hope to acquire one or a few in the near future. But yes, if you are new to street photography and looking to build your library, I definitely recommend checking out Bystander and The Americans, and if you can get your mitts on it, anything by Henri Cartier-Bresson. One book that I hear goes for quite a penny is Our Decisive Moment. It has the cover by Matisse on the dust jacket. I've seen it on eBay going for like $500, $300. Anyway, it's expensive. If you can get it. At this point in time, if I had to choose one street photographer to be my favorite, it would have to be Vivian Maier. Holy cow, you guys, her work is incredible. There's something about it that I just connect with. I can't describe it, but all of her photos just grab me in some way. And she has a very interesting / mysterious story. She's you know, long story short, she was a nanny. She looked after children, lived with the families, and in her spare time, when she took the children out on outings, she would just be shooting photos willy-nilly, you know, on the street, portraits. And unfortunately, her work did not become known until after her death. This young guy stumbled on her work in a storage unit. He won it in an auction because he, you know, was selling stuff at a flea market. And anyway, long story short, won her storage unit and then discovered all of her, you know, photos and negatives, undeveloped rolls of film in this unit, and realized, you know, thought like, hey, her photos are really good. You know, I should contact some museums. Anyway, he created a documentary based on his findings and trying to find out more about Vivian Meier in a documentary, which I highly recommend. I'll link to it down below. Again, she's a very interesting, mysterious person, definitely a character, has a relatively dark side, but her photos, I think, are just so incredible. And, you know, she photographed a lot of the children that she looked at after. But one thing that I really do appreciate is that she, you know, is not afraid to take photos of the not so nice things as well. If you've been following this podcast, you might know that I enjoy the darker things. I gravitate towards moodiness and, you know, ominous and foreboding subjects.
I myself am strange and unusual.
I really appreciate that she goes out and she does photograph, you know, like she sees a dead horse on the street. I mean, it's dark, but it also shows life, because life is not always pretty. So that is something that I really appreciate about Vivian Meier. Hands down, one of my favorite street photographers. But it's not all about street photography. I do have some other photographers and artists that I love and follow and am inspired by. And speaking of, you know, dark themes and whatnot, I would be remiss not to mention Brooke Shaden. If you are not familiar with her, oh my goodness. She also has a YouTube channel where she shares her, you know, it's kind of philosophical, and she shares tips on creativity. And if you watch her YouTube channel or have taken like a creative live class with her and then look at her work, the two are just so polarized where you're like, how you did that? And anyway, she'll shoot a self-portrait against a white wall or a sheet and then take stock images that she shot and create something out of nothing. These amazing, fantastical worlds. Again, a lot of her work airs on the dark side of things, dark themes, stuff of nightmares, really. It's also wonderful, but I really enjoy her work and her YouTube channel, so do check her stuff out. I've taken a couple of creative live classes with her as well, virtually. She's just such a great teacher as well, so definitely something to check out. Another photographer that I am head over heels in love with is Jamie Beck. I feel like her Instagram blew up when she started the hashtag isolation creation movement, and you know, this is when we were all in lockdown because of COVID, and she just decided, you know what, I'm gonna create something, a photo every single day, you know, until lockdown lifts, and you know, do something creative every day, which I was really inspired by. She's actually from New York, and she picked up her life and moved to Provence, France with her family, and you can tell she's just so inspired by her surroundings, by the artwork there and the people, and it just works its way into her photos, which, by the way, somehow she gets them to look like painted masterpieces. I don't know how she does it, but anyway, I think, again, she does a lot of compositing, she shoots with slow shutter speeds and does a lot of post-production in Photoshop, but the product is just so stunning. I actually do have one of her prints. I believe it was from day 69. I'll try and pop a photo of it here, but she's just, yeah. Everything she touches is like gold. There's one street photographer that I did forget to mention who I'm very much enamored with at the moment, Saul Leiter. And I want to thank you guys for suggesting him in the comments. He shoots a lot of photos through things to kind of distort the light, and it really just kind of looks like a, you know, collage or like modern art. You know, you can kind of make out a figure, you know what it is, but it's all distorted. The colors just kind of blend together. But I think the main thing that clicks with me in Saul Leiter's work is that all of his photos look like collages of some kind. And I remember when I was little, I would make collages all the time, and there's just something fun about, you know, piecing together little bits and bobs and everything to create one whole piece of work. I think that's what I really appreciate about his work, and just so much more. I mean, the colors. There's one photo in particular. I know it was just a shoe ad. It was a purple plum umbrella. It was very dark, kind of moody, but I just love the colors within that photo, and I definitely want to get a print of it or something. But anyway, those are the photographers that are currently on my radar that I'm learning from, that I admire, and definitely try to emulate when I go out and take photos. But again, that's something that I want to touch on in this episode about when it comes to you know, copying your favorite photographers or photographers that you admire. There's another book that I want to recommend called Steal Like an Artist by Kleon. You've probably already heard about it, but this book is incredible. If you don't already own it, again, hands down, one book that should be in everyone's library if you're an artist. And basically, he preaches that, you know, yeah, copy your favorite artists and then take that knowledge and what you've gleaned from them and then remix it to make it your own. And like the saying goes, there's nothing new under the sun. Everything has been inspired by something else, remixed, and you know, it's all just a conglomeration of something that's been before. So I feel like, you know, when it comes to honing your own style, your own skills, it's all just a remix of things that you've gleaned from other things, other people, other works of art. So as I said, I'm still learning. I'm 6 months into my street photography journey. I still hate that word, but anyway, adventures in street photography. I'm still finding my style, what works for me, what doesn't work. I'm definitely trying to pull from other inspirations, not only just street photographers, but you know, like I said, Jamie Beck and Brooke Shaden, but also artists. I'm definitely inspired by the Art Nouveau movement, which features a lot of very natural, organic lines in a lot of the artwork, specifically Alphonse Mucha, Gustav Klimt. I've actually started a new Pinterest account where I'm compiling all of these artists and photographers and just you know, using it as a database. I'll link to it down below if you want to follow me over on Pinterest. But yeah, just having this database of, you know, just as a resource. If I am going out and taking self-portraits, I can refer to the poses of the Art Nouveau era and seeing how I can work it into my photography. And yeah, so that's one idea. I know it's cliche at this point, but a lot of people brag about how their photos are cinematic, and I definitely aspire to make, you know, my photos cinematic as well. You know, I did go to school for film and video, and you know, I have an appreciation for cinema and color grading and making an image, like conveying a mood through image. Some of my favorite movies include Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind by Michel Gondry. There's Sofia Coppola. I mean, surprise, her films are just so beautiful. I mean, Marie Antoinette, let's be honest, what was going on in that movie? Who cares? It was just absolutely beautiful. It was a pretty movie to look at, and that's all I really care about. Lost in Translation, I mean, yeah, her films are just, they speak to my soul on so many levels. I mean, Wes Anderson, that is the cliche of the cliche. Of course I'm inspired by Wes Anderson. Just his use of symmetry and pastel colors, and it's just, yeah. Last but not least, honorable mention, I will say Christopher Nolan, because he's all mood. I love the color grading in his movies, specifically Inception. Yeah. So yeah, that is a little hodgepodge rundown of who my photography and, you know, cinematic and painterly inspirations are. You know, as I grow this YouTube channel or progress in it, you'll definitely start to see more of the other types of photos that I take, not specifically just street photography, although I am just having a lot of fun with that. You know, I do try to look for ways to work all of those elements into the work that I create. So I hope this helps you if you are new to photography or, you know, trying to find your style. And again, I think it's important to reiterate that, you know, it's okay to copy your favorite photographers, artists, what have you, as long as you realize that, you know, you're doing it to learn and remix it into your own aesthetic, if that makes sense. So again, I hope you guys liked this episode and learned something from it. If you did, please let me know in the comments below. Share with me and others who your favorite photographers are, your inspirations. I would love to hear about them. And again, if you're new to this channel and haven't already, please feel free to like and subscribe down below. I put out a video for your viewing pleasure every week. And until the next video, bye.